In today's video English lesson, I'm going to teach you the future perfect tense. Now, the future perfect is one of the more advanced tenses in the English language. And what makes a tense advanced are what I call the different layers of complexity. The first layer of complexity is understanding the perfect aspect, how one action relates to another in time, and that is the perfect aspect. And the second layer of complexity is the fact that now we're talking about a future tense instead of the present. So if you understand the present perfect, then you have a good foundation to understand the future perfect, and vice versa. After this video, if you have learned the future perfect tense, it would also help you to back understand the present perfect. Therefore, in this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to use the future perfect tense intuitively. By the end of this lesson, you will have learned how to form the tense. You will have learned how it works and why we use it. You will also have learned some of the most common time expressions for the future perfect tense, and you will have got plenty of examples for you to feel comfortable using it yourself. So if you don't have your notebook out already to take notes, do so now, and I'll see you in the presentation. Let's begin by introducing how the future perfect tense is formed. It's formed by combining the future, will, and the perfect, have, plus the past participle, or third verb form. Basically, will have done. Now, let's practice with some example sentences. And please, feel free to follow along and repeat the example sentences to get comfortable using this tense in a sentence. By the end of the lesson, you will have learned how to form the tense. At the moment, you're watching the video. The end of the video is something around 8, maybe 10 minutes from now. And everything you're going to learn takes place between the start of the video and the end of the video. You see, the future perfect is used for a finished action or a group of finished actions that take place before the end time or deadline. So, by the end of the lesson, you will have learned how to form the tense. You will also have learned how it works and why we use it. You will have learned some of the most common time expressions where the future perfect is used, and you will have got plenty of examples and practice sentences for you to recognize it when you hear it and use it yourself. There are 4 aspects of each time tense in English. Here you can see that as we go down the inverted pyramid, each aspect becomes more and more explicit. The future simple is about as general as it gets. It simply states that in the future something will happen. A simple prediction of a completed action. The future perfect is more explicit. And if you're wondering what explicit means, it describes a communication as clear and directly stated in specific detail. The future perfect then is explicit as to the timing of the completed action or group of actions being sometime before the expected time or deadline. So let's see how the future simple and the future perfect are different. At the end of the lesson, I'll ask you to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Or you can just do so now if you haven't already. And by the time this lesson has finished, you will have learned the future perfect tense. As you could see from the examples, by the time isn't the same as at the time. English tenses often combine in a sentence with certain time expressions, and the future perfect is no different. Of course, by the time is the most common of those expressions. And I should also say that the word time has variations. For example, you could be referencing a specific time, a specific day, or date, month, year, time of year. For example, by the time we arrive, by 6 o'clock Friday evening, by next Thursday, by spring. By the time is by far the most common time expression. Yet there are others that go with the future perfect too. These are mostly perfect expressions that are often used with the present perfect, such as before, just, and already. Now let's get into the aspects of the future perfect by studying a graphic metaphor. The future perfect is like a traveler on a long drive. The red parts behind the car represent the present perfect aspect. These are the miles that have already been driven. The green stretch of road represents the distance still to be driven until the end of the journey. The future perfect is the green part, the miles still to be driven, and the red part, the miles already completed. You see, the future perfect represents the total of the journey. The journey ends in the future, and it may start from the present, it may have started in the past, or it might start in the future and finish further in the future. And there are three main aspects that I'm going to show you, then we'll get into some more examples. Cumulative means that we group all the actions that occur over time and they're covered by one verb. Sequence is about the timing and order of either two actions or one action in reference to the stated time. And the perfect is always on the action or verb before. So you can think of the future perfect tense as being the action or actions before another action or before the time deadline. And cause and effect is naturally communicated in the perfect because the cause action always comes before the effect action. So the sequence aspect is also at play here. Let's show these aspects with a travel example. One of the most famous road trips one can take is the historic Route 66. It starts from Chicago, Illinois, and continues across 8 states until you reach the final destination, Santa Monica Beach in Los Angeles, California, where I happen to be from. Let's imagine that you are on this journey across America. You are presently in Williams, Arizona. So far, you have driven through 6 states. You have completed a total of 1,690 miles. And you have made several stops along the way, over more than a week of driving. Now, before you leave Williams, you will have spent the day at the Grand Canyon. And from Williams, Arizona to Santa Monica, Los Angeles, is another 450 miles. Before you finish the drive to Los Angeles, you will have stopped in Barstow, California for gas, food, and their famous outlet shopping center. By the time you've reached the end of Trail Sign in Santa Monica, you will have driven a total of 2,140 miles along Route 66. You will have logged over 32 hours of driving, and you will have driven across 8 states, and you will have had the time of your life. Welcome back, natives. You just learned a lot about the future perfect in that video you just witnessed. You've learned how to form the tense. You've learned the aspects, how it works and why we use it. You've learned some of the most common time expressions, and I gave you a graphic metaphor to help you understand the future perfect tense a bit more intuitively. But now I want to talk to you just a little bit more about when to use this in a practical way, because I teach English here in Polish, and sometimes I get a bit of resistance from my students in using these more advanced tenses. You know, they say, oh, well, I know the simple and I know the continuous, and I'll just use those. You know, I'll be fine if I use those. And you're missing the point of learning the language if you're not willing to try and use those more advanced tenses, because that is the richness of the language. So I just want to give you the most practical application of the future perfect tense. So let's start with the present perfect. The present perfect, one of the most practical applications of the present perfect is it's a kind of checklist tense, right? You have your checklist from work that, you know, by the end of the workday, you have to do this and this and this. And your boss might say, how are you on the list? And you can say, I have done the first 2 tasks. I still haven't done this 3rd task. And now with the future perfect, you just add a future deadline to that. Say by the end of the day or by the time I leave, I will have finished that task. Or if you're a student and you've got, you know, all this homework, you're estimating the time. Okay, by dinner, I will have done my English homework and my math homework, but that's all I'll have time for. So I'll have to do the science homework after dinner. But by dinner, I will have done the English homework and the math homework. So my example for you is, let's say that I'm going to leave work after I finish shooting this video, and by the time I get home, I will have stopped at the bank to get some money from the ATM. I will have visited the post office and bought some stamps, dropped off some letters. I'll have picked up my clothes from the dry cleaners, and I'll probably have done some food shopping for tomorrow. Let's see, well, I don't really feel like cooking tonight, so I'll probably have just picked up a pizza or, you know, picked up some Chinese takeaway. And I will have done all of those things from the time I've left work to the time I get home. So in that space of time, I will have finished all those things. So let's hear from you. Let's hear down in the comments section if you can make some example sentences with the future perfect. So what will you have done by the end of this day today? Whichever day this is that you're watching this video, what will you have done by the end of the day? Not just from now to the end of the day. You can also go back to the beginning, to morning. What were some of the things you have already completed? What more things do you have left? But you will have completed all of those things by the end of the day. So let me hear down in the comment section some of your example sentences. So that's it for today, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.